Now let's dive into what's coming up. On February 11th, there's a major announcement scheduled that will affect your money and your benefits. This is not just another data release, it's a glimpse into the state of the economy and what it means for your finances. The numbers we're going to see will tell us a lot about inflation, about the cost of living, and about how much your benefits are truly worth in today's environment. Before we go any further, I need to ask you, are you feeling the pinch right now? Are you noticing the strain of rising prices, higher bills, and the gap between what you earn and what you spend? Let me know in the comments. I want to hear directly from you about your experience, because this is impacting all of us differently, but almost everyone is feeling it in some way. Let's back up just a bit for context. Back in mid-December of last year, the Federal Reserve made a major announcement that many people are still not fully grasping. Essentially, they decided to restart money printing. This isn't a small move. This is a major financial maneuver that has real consequences for every dollar in your pocket. The technical term they use is reserve management purchases, but what it really means is they are putting more money into circulation. Historically, whenever this happens, it pushes prices higher because more dollars are chasing the same amount of goods and services. It increases inflation and decreases the purchasing power of every dollar you have. At the time, inflation was sitting around 3%. The Fed's stated goal has long been to keep inflation near 2%, but with the numbers already above that target, adding more money into the system seems counterintuitive. Yet, that's exactly what they decided to do. And as someone tracking this closely, I flagged it immediately because this decision has a direct effect on your finances, your benefits, and ultimately what you can buy each month. Now, fast forward to February 11th. That's when the inflation data for January will be released through the Consumer Price Index, or CPI. The CPI is essentially the government's official measure of inflation. But over the years, many have criticized it for not reflecting the real experience of everyday people. Some people even refer to it humorously as the CP lie, and because there's often a big gap between the CPI numbers and the reality we see in our own lives. What groceries cost, what gas costs, rent, utilities, medical bills. So when this report comes out, it's more than just a number. It's a marker of what has actually been happening with prices since the Fed restarted its money printing in December. This is significant because it's the first full month after the Fed began adding extra money into the economy. Even if they started with $40 billion a month, and it sounds like a small number compared to trillions, the effects add up quickly. By the time they fully ramp up, this could easily be $50 to $60 billion per month, and every extra dollar in circulation can chip away at your purchasing power. So when that CPI report hits, it's going to be closely watched because it could show a noticeable increase in inflation. And I want to hear from you on this. Are you already noticing prices rising again where you live? Are groceries, gas, rent, or utilities creeping higher? Comment down below with what you're seeing. Real-world examples like these are the best way to connect the data we get from reports to what's happening in your daily life. It's not the first time Americans have faced this kind of situation. Think back to the period between early 2020 and early 2021, when $6 trillion were added to the economy in a single year. That massive increase in money supply had a clear and immediate impact on prices. And today, even though the numbers aren't quite as extreme, the same principle applies. More money in circulation leads to higher prices, and higher prices erode the value of the money you already have. Now, if you're receiving Social Security benefits, this has a very real effect on you. Each year we receive a cost of living adjustment, or COLA, designed to help offset inflation. But if you've been paying attention over the past few years, you've noticed these adjustments are often far smaller than the actual increase in living costs. For example, a COLA of 2.8% in 2026 may seem like a reasonable increase on paper, but if real inflation is running at 5 or 6%, your benefits are effectively losing value. You might have seen this yourself, your COLA increase hitting your account, only to be immediately offset by higher costs and everyday expenses. Let's break it down. In recent years, we've seen COLA increases of 2.8%, 2.5%, 3.2%. Meanwhile, actual inflation on everyday goods and services has been considerably higher, sometimes 4, 5, 6%. That means in real terms, the benefit increases only cover about half of what you're losing in purchasing power. In other words, your monthly checks are not keeping pace with the cost of living. That's why this February 11th report is so important. It's a measure of how much your money is actually worth in today's market. So here's what we can expect. Prices are likely to continue rising. Even with the small COLA increases, the benefit adjustments you're receiving may already be gone the moment they hit your account, especially after adjustments to things like Medicare Part B premiums. A 2.8% increase might seem like progress, but with rising premiums and the general cost of living, that increase can vanish almost instantly. And we all know this. It's frustrating, unfair, and completely real. The Federal Reserve's decision to inject more money into the system at a time when inflation is already high is likely to amplify this problem. While they may call this a temporary measure to increase liquidity, history shows us that these things rarely remain temporary. In past instances, quantitative easing and similar programs lasted years, with prolonged effects on prices and economic stability. So, what might they call a short-term measure today could very well have long-term consequences for the cost of living and your benefits. Some forecasts suggest inflation could rise back up to 5, 6, or even 7% in the coming months if this trend continues. If that happens, the small COLA increases that beneficiaries receive will be entirely insufficient to keep up with real-world prices. That's why it's so important to watch the upcoming CPI report closely. It may give us a hint of the pace of inflation going forward, though we must also recognize that the numbers released may not fully reflect the reality many of us are living. Over the past several years, there's been a lot of skepticism about the accuracy of these official inflation reports. While the government provides these numbers as a measure of economic trends, many believe the methodology used tends to understate the true cost increases experienced by everyday people. And whether or not you agree with that perspective, there's no denying that anyone paying for groceries, utilities, rent, or medical bills sees prices rising faster than official numbers suggest. This reality is particularly stark for people living on fixed incomes or relying on Social Security. Seniors, low-income households, and those with limited financial flexibility are the ones who feel this most. Every percentage point of inflation matters. Every small adjustment, or lack thereof, in benefits makes a difference between being able to cover bills or having to make tough choices about what to buy, what to skip, and how to stretch every dollar. As we approach February 11th and the release of the January CPI, it's crucial to pay attention not just to the number itself, but what it represents. It reflects how the policies of the Federal Reserve, the ongoing effects of money supply, and other economic decisions are impacting our daily lives. It's not just abstract data, it's a direct indicator of your purchasing power, your monthly expenses, and the real value of your benefits. So again, I want to hear from you. Are you concerned about the upcoming inflation report? Do you feel like the COLA increases you receive are adequate to keep up with real-world prices? And as always, where are you watching from today? Comment down below and share your thoughts. These conversations matter because they help everyone see the real impact of what's happening in the economy, not just what the official reports say. If you find this kind of breakdown helpful, please hit the like button. It helps this information reach more people who need to understand how these economic changes affect them. Sharing this video can make a real difference, especially for those relying on fixed incomes and benefits to get by. And if you haven't subscribed yet, please consider doing so. It's completely free, and you'll get regular updates on important financial and benefits-related news that affects your money. I'll continue to follow this closely and provide updates as soon as new information becomes available. The February 11th report is going to be an important marker, but it's just one piece of a bigger picture. Prices, inflation, and purchasing power are all interconnected, and understanding these dynamics is essential for making informed decisions about your finances. Until then, stay aware, stay informed, and pay attention to what's happening with your money. Comment below with your experiences, your questions, and your feedback. Your participation is what makes this community strong, and ensures that everyone is better equipped to navigate the current economic landscape. Thank you for tuning in. Remember to like, share, and subscribe. Keep an eye on that February 11th release. It's going to tell us a lot about where we're headed in 2026. Stay warm, stay safe, and take care of yourselves. I'll be back soon with more updates and breakdowns on everything that affects your money, your benefits, and your life.